Within the convent's stone walls, the sisters lived in harmony, bound by a rhythm as old as the bells that tolled each day. They ate together, worked side by side, and shared their slumber in a great communal chamber. Always in pairs, they moved as though no step was meant to be taken alone. Privacy was a rarity, glimpsed only when each attended to the most modest necessities behind a closed door. Even then, no one was far away. Only one man resided with them, Father Urban, the priest who kept his solitary quarters within the church. His chamber was forbidden ground to the sisters, a place they dared not tread. For many years, their lives were ordered, faithful and serene, until the night when everything changed. One evening, as though governed by some unseen command, every nun awoke from the same vision. It was no ordinary dream, but a nightmare steeped in dread. The stone walls turned icy, flames were extinguished, and in the shadows stood a figure, draped in cloth, faceless yet grotesque. A younger sister named it the Cloth Man. The others resisted such naming, fearing to grant the apparition any further power. They prayed it would pass, but it did not. Night after night, the figure returned, plaguing one sister at a time. Bruises appeared on their bodies by dawn, though no struggle had been heard. Eventually, none were spared. By day, the convent grew uneasy. Echoes rolled through the halls, sounds without origin or end. Faith alone began to waver under the weight of the inexplicable. At last, the sisters went to Father Urban, confessing their torment. His counsel was simple: pray harder, pray longer. But prayer gave no relief. The shadows only deepened, and the sense of being hunted within their own sanctuary grew unbearable. Still, no cause could be named. No death had disturbed them, no quarrel had soured their bonds. The evil was rootless, born from nothing. Then came the night that stripped away all doubt. One sister awoke to find the others hovering above their beds, suspended as though by invisible strings. Terror gripped her as a voice rang out, unearthly and accusing. "If you say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves." In that moment, the truth clawed its way into the open. Father Urban, the one they had trusted to shepherd them, was the very source of their torment. In secret, he had abandoned his vows, practicing witchcraft within the very church he was meant to guard. The sisters reported him at once. Judgment was swift. The men of the village dragged him from his chamber and consigned him to the flames. Yet even as his body burned, the darkness he summoned did not perish. It seeped into the world beyond the convent walls, afflicting those who had carried out his execution. To this day, whispers tell that the spirit Father Urban called forth still lingers. What began within a convent now festers among the villagers, who claim to hear the same echoes, feel the same invisible hand upon their flesh. The sisters pray unceasingly for deliverance, though peace seems far away. This tale mirrors the infamous possessions of Laudun in 1634, when an entire convent in France fell prey to visions, convulsions, and horrors unexplained. A priest, Urbain Grandier, was accused of summoning demons and was burned at the stake. Reports from the time speak of ghostly apparitions, black orbs drifting through sacred halls, and nuns who bent backward until their hands touched their heels, shrieking, laughing, and uttering blasphemy. Tourists came from far and wide to witness the public exorcisms. Names of demons were spoken, and the case entered history as one of France's most notorious witchcraft trials, echoing the terrors that swept across Europe in that age of shadows. It began in quiet simplicity. A small monastery stood under the patronage of the local bishop, who had ordained a young priest to guide its residents. The monastery was no grand abbey, but a humble dwelling, home to 4 nuns and their priest. For years, nothing of note disturbed their rhythm. Prayers rose, meals were shared, and silence cloaked their stone halls. But all of that changed with the arrival of a new sister. Her name was Marie. At first, she was a blessing, young, warm-hearted, and eager to join the order. The nuns embraced her quickly, and her presence was a welcome spark in a place where days bled into each other without change. Yet within weeks, something unsettling stirred. Marie's behavior grew erratic. She disrupted Mass with laughter, giggling at nothing in particular. What began as immaturity soon darkened into something else. Her speech withered into flat, one-word replies. She no longer worked beside her sisters, nor opened her books for study. Instead, she whispered to herself in tones low and venomous, muttering words no one could quite decipher. One night, a nun found her pressed into the corner of a room, her face hidden, her shoulders quaking with sharp, unnatural breaths. She called out gently, then urgently, but she would not respond. When Marie turned around, his expression was so wild and fierce that he charged at her without warning. The other nuns nearby quickly ran over to stop and pull Marie out. Together, they restrained Marie and locked her in her chamber until they could decide what must be done. That night, the monastery's silence shattered. Voices echoed through the halls. "Who's there? Marie, what on earth? Get me out of here. Grab her, quickly." The sisters cried for help, calling for their priest. Marie's body convulsed, her voice at times her own, at other times something guttural and inhuman. At last, the words were spoken aloud. "An exorcism must be done." The priest faltered. He had never performed such a rite, had believed such things belonged to medieval myth. Yet faced with the horror before them, there was no other choice. They bound Marie to the priest's bed and began with scripture, but the readings alone proved powerless. Her true self flickered in and out, pleading, begging for help, before the voice of the intruder overtook her once more. Desperate, they carried her to the altar. There, beneath the looming crucifix, they chained her to the cross itself. Holy oil was poured upon her. Scripture was read without pause. For 3 days, the monastery closed its doors, the sisters and priest devoting themselves entirely to the battle for Marie's soul. Her body was kept alive with water. Her screams echoed through the sanctuary. Some nights, it seemed the demon had triumphed, her body thrashing beyond human strength. Other times, her own voice returned, crying for salvation. Finally, on the 3rd day, she fell silent. Exhausted, the priest and nuns believed the ordeal finished. They summoned an ambulance to bring Marie to a hospital, fearful for her health after so much torment. But in the care of the doctors, Marie died. What followed was no longer a spiritual trial, but a worldly one. The priest and the 4 nuns were condemned for their actions, accused of cruelty and negligence. The law did not accept the explanation of possession. Each was sentenced to prison. And yet, Mari's family and many who had known her believed otherwise. They maintained that what happened was no madness, no simple illness, but something darker, a true possession. The story of Mari mirrors the infamous Târnăcu exorcism of 2005 in Romania. In that case, a nun named Marisica Irina Cornici was subjected to an exorcism led by Father Daniel Petru Corogianu and 4 Orthodox nuns. Accused of mistreating her, they were imprisoned following her death. The coroner claimed she died of an adrenaline overdose administered in the ambulance. But within the village and among her family, the belief persisted. She had been overtaken by a demonic force, and those who stood trial were not her tormentors, but the only ones who truly tried to save her. This is not a tale of good prevailing over evil. It is the story of how blurred that line can be, how faith can turn to desperation, how belief can clash with law, and how some truths are left forever in the shadows, unresolved. My daughter Clara was always unlike the other children her age. She was quiet, withdrawn, and had little interest in making friends. Whenever she brought someone home, they rarely returned a second time. Before long, Clara stopped being invited to anyone else's house altogether. She didn't care for television, the radio, or the pastimes that kept other kids busy. Books were the only thing she wanted. I regret to say I was too preoccupied to notice what she was actually reading. If only I had. When she entered her teenage years, Clara changed even more. She seemed detached from everything around her, uninterested in the world. And where she once devoured book after book, now she clung to just one, an old leather-bound Bible. At the time, I considered it a blessing. While my friends fretted about their daughters running wild or falling into trouble, I felt proud that mine was quiet, obedient, and devout. I believed those were the good days, before everything unraveled. It began one night when I couldn't sleep. As I rolled over, I noticed Clara in the doorway of my room. The lights were off, but I could clearly see her silhouette. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there. I called her name softly, then louder, but she gave no sign of hearing me. Uneasy, I got out of bed, switched on the light, and told her it was late and she needed to return to her room. Convinced she had been sleepwalking, I thought little of it. But it didn't stop. Night after night, I would open my eyes to find her there again, staring silently from the doorway. Not once did I see her approach. It was as if she simply appeared. At first, I roused myself each time to guide her back to bed. But after a week, I stopped. It unnerved me, yes, but I was tired and let her remain. I told myself it was harmless, though deep down, I knew it was anything but. Then came the night when everything shifted. I remember tossing in my sleep, trying to find comfort. I assumed Clara was in the doorway as usual, but when I sat up, the space was empty, only the door hung wide open. A chill crept over me as I walked the dark hallway to her room. What I found froze me in place. Clara was suspended in the air, 4 feet above her bed. A moment later, she drifted upward until she pressed against the ceiling, crawling across it as though gravity itself had turned against her. I ran. I dialed the church in desperation, calling until the priest finally answered. He insisted I bring Clara at once. By the time I reached her, she had fallen from the ceiling, but now she was vacant, an empty shell. She would not respond, not even when shaken. I carried her into the car, drove her to the church, and placed her in their care. The priests sprinkled holy water, and for a fleeting moment, Clara stirred. They placed her in the confessional, hoping to reach her. What she admitted there made my blood run cold. She confessed she had been practicing rituals, dark invocations drawn from the very book I thought was a Bible. Its cover had been a disguise. Inside, the words belonged not to God, but to Satan. Moments later, she slipped back into that lifeless state, and the priest confirmed what I dreaded most. My daughter was possessed. The exorcism began immediately. What followed was the most harrowing ordeal of my life. Clara thrashed and screamed with inhuman strength, her voice shifting between her own and something guttural, mocking. "The power of Christ compels you. Release this innocent soul," cried the priest. "I'll crush your throat and split your skull," the demon answered through her lips. "Clara, stop," I screamed. "Your daughter is already burning in hell," the voice hissed. The struggle raged for hours. Chairs splintered. Holy men were thrown to the ground, yet they persisted. At last, the demon relented, driven out by sheer force of prayer and will. Clara fell limp, free at last. The aftermath. But victory came at too great a price. Clara's body was ruined from the torment. Her heart, weakened by what she endured, could not hold out. Not long after her deliverance, she died. Every day since, I've carried the same guilt, that I did not pay attention sooner, that I did not take the strange book from her hands, that I let her stand in my doorway night after night. If only I had acted earlier, perhaps she would still be alive. This tale mirrors the real case of Clara Germana Selle, a young South African girl said to have been possessed in 1906. Accounts tell she spoke languages she had never learned, revealed secrets of strangers, hurled nuns aside with unnatural strength, and levitated several feet into the air. Witnesses described her screams as animalistic, her hatred of holy objects absolute. Two priests, Reverend Mansuetti and Reverend Erasmus, performed her exorcism, which lasted for 2 full days. At its end, the demon was expelled, and the girl was delivered. Whether history or legend, such stories endure as chilling reminders of how easily darkness can wear a familiar face. A deserted country road winds through dense fog. Tall trees loom overhead. A single car headlights cut through the darkness. Inside the car, Jason Harper driving and Emily Harper sitting in the passenger seat. "Jason, are you sure this is the right place?" "The realtor said it's just down this road. The house is supposed to be abandoned for years, perfect for renovations." The car rounds a bend and suddenly the silhouette of an old decaying mansion emerges from the fog. Its windows are dark, some broken vines crawling up the walls. Jason parks the car. They get out. The wind picks up, carrying a faint, whispering voice. Emily shivers. The front door groans as Jason pushes it open. The air inside is cold, stale, and smells faintly of decay. They walk in. Their footsteps echo in the empty halls. Dust swirls around them in the moonlight. A grand staircase leads up to the second floor, its banister warped and rotting. Suddenly, a faint child's laugh echoes from upstairs. Emily freezes. Did you hear that? Emily Enchka Ging. Probably a raccoon or something. They continue exploring. In the dining room, a long table is covered in cobwebs. Chairs are overturned. A silver candelabra lies on the floor, dented. Jason picks it up and shakes it gently. Then the candelabra flies from his hands across the room, smashing into the wall. Jason and Emily stumble back, horrified. A loud creaking sound comes from the staircase. Both look up. A dark shadow moves across the top landing. It disappears. Emily gasps. Dort. Emily unwraps a blanket, trying to warm herself. A sudden knock comes from the window. Both freeze. Who's there? Who's there? Emily startled. Jason slowly approaches the window. Nothing is outside. He sighs in relief. The knock comes again, louder this time. A faint, distorted child's voice whispers, "Go away." Emily clutches Jason's arm. The temperature in the room drops dramatically. Their breath becomes visible. Suddenly, the lights from their flashlights flicker. Shadows stretch unnaturally along the walls. A cold, unseen hand brushes Emily's shoulder. She screams. Jason grabs a nearby chair, swinging it wildly, but hits nothing. The room is empty, yet the presence is undeniable. A low, guttural whisper fills the room. "You shouldn't have come." Jason and Emily huddle together, terrified as the first real night of horror begins in Willow Creek. Jason and Emily are huddled on the floor, clutching each other. The cold in the room is unbearable. Their breaths come in short gasps. Shadows twist unnaturally across the walls. Jason grabs his phone, trying to call for help. No signal. He tries again. Still nothing. A soft, dragging sound comes from the hallway outside the room. Something is moving. A door at the end of the hallway creaks open slowly on its own. Emily hides her face in Jason's chest. The room grows darker, as if a shadow is spreading. A low, almost human-like moan echoes from the corridor. "I want to leave. I want to go home," Emily crying softly. Jason slowly stands, trying to look brave. He grabs a candle from a dresser and lights it. The flame flickers violently, then steadies. He steps into the hallway. The floorboards groan under his weight. Cold wind brushes past him. He shines the candle down the hall. A small, pale hand suddenly reaches out from under the staircase, grabbing at him. Jason stumbles back, screaming. "Jason!" Emily screaming. The hand disappears as quickly as it appeared. Silence falls. But now, faint whispers are all around them, echoing from the walls and ceiling. Whispers overlapping. "Leave. Now. Go." The next morning, the rain has stopped, leaving a damp, foggy landscape outside. Jason and Emily are examining the house by daylight, the horrors of the night before fresh in their minds. They find a small library, dusty and full of cobwebs. Emily opens a large book, flipping through pages of old newspaper clippings. "Jason, look at this." Clippings show a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances in the mansion, all involving children. One article catches their attention. A woman named Madeline Thorne was accused of witchcraft and killed on the property in the 1800s. A sudden loud bang upstairs makes them both jump. A chair slides across the floor on its own. The air grows icy again. Jason grabs Emily's hand. We need help. Someone who understands this. Jason finds an old working landline in the study room. He dials frantically. The line clicks. Then a calm, confident voice answers. This is Dr. Marcus Vale. How may I help you? My name is Jason Harper. We moved into a mansion in Willow Creek. Something's wrong. There's a spirit here. It attacked us last night. Take a deep breath. Describe the events from the beginning. Jason recounts everything. The whispers, the shadows, the hand under the stairs, the dragging sounds, and the chilling presence. Emily adds the newspaper clippings about Madeline Thorne. Jason hangs up, glancing at Emily, both knowing that tonight will be even worse than before. The rain has returned, light at first, then heavier. Fog swirls across the lawn. Jason and Emily stand at the edge of the driveway, nervously awaiting Dr. Marcus Vale and his team. A sleek black SUV appears through the mist. 3 figures step out. Dr. Marcus Vale, a calm, experienced paranormal investigator. Sister Helena, a medium with deep spiritual insight. And Liam, a tech specialist with a knack for detecting anomalies. Are you ready? Once we enter, there's no turning back until we've dealt with her. I don't know if I can. Emily, trembling. They all enter the mansion. The doors creak ominously, echoing through the dark hallways. The team sets up equipment, EVP recorders, EMF detectors, cameras, and candles. Dr. Vale explains the plan. Madeline Thorne is strong. She feeds off fear. She reacts to sudden movements, loud sounds, and non-vegetarian food. Her anger stems from betrayal and her violent death. Tonight, we'll attempt to communicate, then bind her spirit. Jason and Emily sit in the corner, holding each other. A faint whisper floats through the room, too soft to catch clearly. A sudden slamming sound upstairs causes Liam to drop his camera. Dr. Vale moves toward the staircase. He ascends, candle in hand. The shadows seem to stretch along the walls, forming twisted shapes. A chilling, high-pitched laugh echoes down the staircase. Dr. Vale carefully approaches a closed door at the end of the hallway. The temperature drops sharply. His breath becomes visible. Madeline Thorne, we are here to help you move on. The door slams open violently on its own. A shadowy figure appears. A pale woman in a tattered dress, her eyes black voids. Long black hair obscures most of her face. She floats a few inches above the floor, moving unnaturally. Madeline Thorne, your anger belongs to the past. You will not harm them. The ghost screams, a high-pitched wail that shakes the walls. Furniture slides across the floor. Candles extinguish themselves one by one. Liam shouts, trying to record everything. Sister Helena steps forward, holding a small pendant glowing faintly. By the light of the old, by the power of the unseen, I call you to listen. The ghost pauses, tilts her head. A whisper emerges, almost human. Why did they betray me? Ghost whispering. Suddenly, a loud crash is heard from downstairs. Jason and Emily run toward the sound. They see furniture thrown across the room. A shadow moves across the ceiling, then lands in front of them. It's Madeline Thorne. Emily screaming. The ghost lunges at Jason. He is thrown across the room. Emily tries to grab him, but the ghost grabs her too. Both are lifted off the ground by an invisible force. Dr. Vale runs to the center of the room, holding a small silver cross and chanting an incantation. The ghost lets out a chilling scream. "Leave or die," ghost screaming. Jason manages to grab a piece of broken furniture, swinging it at the ghost. It passes through her like smoke, but slows her down. Dr. Val's shouting grows louder. Sister Helena joins in, the pendant glowing brighter. The ghost starts to dissipate slowly, her wail fading. The air warms. The objects stop moving. Jason and Emily collapse to the floor, exhausted but alive. Dr. Vale's serious to Emily and Jason. "This is only the beginning. Spirits like Madeline Thorne, they are powerful. But tonight, she has been weakened." The camera lingers on the shadowy corners of the room, hinting that she may not be gone entirely. Jason and Emily sit as Sister Helena performs a vision ritual. Candles circle them. Incense smoke curls around their faces. Suddenly, the room shifts. The walls seem to bleed. Her fury is born of betrayal, starvation, and murder. "They left me. They left me," ghost whispering. Objects fly. Lights flicker, shadows dart across hallways. Jason and Emily are trapped in a room, terrified. "She's feeding off your fear. Stay calm," Dr. Vale shouting. Jason sees ghostly children in the corner, echoes of Madeline's lost family. One reaches toward him, whispering, "Join us." He panics. But Sister Helena intervenes with her pendant, driving the spirits back. Dr. Vale and Sister Helena lure Madeline into the attic. Candles, protective symbols, and chanting surround her. "You can't take me," ghost screaming. Emily, summoned by Sister Helena, repeats her mother's name to calm Madeline, connecting to the part of her soul still human. "Madeline, it's time to rest. You don't have to hurt anymore." The ghost shrieks, convulses, then suddenly falls silent, hovering briefly before dissipating into mist. The attic is still. The storm outside breaks into light rain. The mansion is quiet. Broken furniture remains, but the oppressive darkness is gone. Jason and Emily sit, exhausted but alive. It's over. She's gone. For now. Spirits like her leave traces. Respect the house. Don't return alone. Sister Helena. Madeline Thorne's story is a warning. Not all spirits want revenge. Some just want closure. The team leaves, the mansion looming quietly in the early morning fog. The camera lingers on a corner of the attic. Faint black smoke curls, hinting she may not be completely gone. Jason and Emily walk away, holding hands. Birds chirp. Life seems to return to normal, but a faint wind carries a whisper. "I'll be waiting," ghost whispering. Cut to black. The credits roll, leaving a lingering sense of unease. Under the light of a new moon, the clouds were as thin as gauze. The dirt road leading into the forest was so quiet, that the sound of dry leaves sounded like bones scraping against each other. Alex walked ahead, the flashlight hanging from his backpack swaying, cutting a thin line of light through the fog. Maya followed closely behind, her hands cold, each step like she had to be pulled out of the mud. Leo walked behind, tripod and camera bag slung over his shoulder, his eyes deep but alert, scanning the surroundings like a sentry, silently counting his breaths to keep calm. They had read the worn-out diary, an anonymous priest written in blotchy reddish-brown ink about a village forgotten because of its debt to shadows. Maya stopped abruptly, grabbing Alex's sleeve. "Do you feel it? Like someone hungry?" Alex laughed, reassuringly in a light voice.
I don't know, guys. I'm getting a really bad feeling
Perfect
about
for a
this.
Halloween video. He raised the camera, panning around. Fog, trees, darkness. The lens caught a few specks of dust that shone like fireflies, or other things, small and staring back. Then the village appeared without warning, without a single light, without a puff of smoke. Only the air was heavy as a stone pressing on the chest. In front of the village gate, a rickety sign hung by a rusty string. Alex brought the flashlight closer. Burned black words were etched into the wood. "The unharvested shadows will find the curious." Maya took a step back. Alex smiled again, but his eyes were trembling. He pushed the gate open. The hinges made a long, screeching sound, like someone sucking in a breath to contain the pain. Inside, the village streets were filled with mud and leaves. The doors were half open, like cave entrances. Alex led the group into the first house, its wooden floors creaking. The musty smell mixed with the smell of burning incense crept into Maya's nose, making her cough slightly. On the table, an overturned earthenware bowl still lay. Alex flipped the bowl over. Below was a black and white photograph, blurry and cracked. A group of people in brown shirts, holding sickles, standing in the middle of a rice field that had been harvested to the stump. Leaving the house, they walked deeper. Every strange sound began to creep around them, light footsteps behind them. But when they turned around, there was only mist. Sighs from the abandoned well, whispers mixed in the wind, like many voices overlapping. Not harvested yet. Alex leaned into each door, panting with hunting instinct. Blurred figures began to touch the edges of the frame, just the corners of eyes. But Maya could clearly see a pair of eyes red as burning coals peering through. She grabbed Alex's hand so hard it hurt. "Alex, stop. It's a trap." Alex stubbornly, "I just need a few more shots." Suddenly, a window banged as if someone had crashed into it. All three spun. Behind the cracked glass, a face appeared for a moment. Hollow, eyes two dark red holes, mouth open but making no sound, then suddenly gone. Alex dropped the camera to the floor, the indicator lights still flashing. They gathered their things and ran to the middle of the village. There, a small square led into many crisscrossing alleys. Houses on both sides changed positions. Windows seemed to turn to watch them. Leo counted his steps, but the count kept slipping away, as if someone had broken the numbers in his head. A hand reached out from the void and grabbed Leo's wrist. Leo jerked, jumped back, the other hand flailing reflexively, leaving 5 long purple marks on his skin, like the marks of fingers without flesh. They were lost in a corridor, in the village. Maya closed her eyes, took a deep breath, trying to find a beat other than her own. And she heard it. Under her feet, in the ground, something moving. Like many hands crawling, searching for calves, ankles. "Don't stand still," Maya whispered. "They can pull if we stand still." They continued walking, and then the corridor suddenly opened in front of a small church, the bell tower broken in half, the clock face frozen at 3:13. Alex pushed the door. The smell of burnt incense came like a wave. On the altar, portraits were pasted on top of each other. Peasant faces, dark eyes, gentle but deep down were tired and resentful. Some of the photos were torn, revealing behind them were old words. Called to pay rice tax, didn't return. Strange disease after harvest. Missing in the well. The paper shook even though there was no wind. A dry bell rang from the broken tower, not knowing who had rung it. The candles in the church flickered, then flared up a little before going out. Maya held her head. "They're coming!" Leo grabbed Alex's shoulder. "Go, now!" But the crescent moon suddenly rushed out from behind the clouds, casting silver light on the broken window. And as the moonlight touched the church floor, from the dark corners, figures began to step out. A figure approached Alex, reaching out to touch his collar. He was lifted, his feet kicking into the air, a scream stuck in his throat as if swallowed by the thick air. The smell of corpses and incense smoke mixed with the smell of burning straw lingered around. Alex was mumbling, his hands flailing. Leo let out a low growl, lunged forward, grabbed Alex's stomach, and pulled him back. He felt those dry, scratched fingers dig into Alex's skin like hooks. He pulled hard. Alex's body fell into Leo's hands like a sandbag, both of them rolling down the church steps. Maya, still holding her head, suddenly opened her eyes, grabbed the metal bracelet, put it on Alex's wrist, her hands trembling. "Alex, the number, the document in the diary." Alex gasped. He rummaged through his backpack and pulled out a piece of paper marked with a marker. On it, under the phrase, "Do not call their names," there was a short, hastily written and ugly verse. "The shadow demands its share. The person returns the favor. The black fire shines, the boundary opens. When the moon is a scythe, place the ring between the shadow and the bone. When the..." Maya recited in a whisper. She placed the Jiamchio ring in the space between the three people and the shadows. The ring did not touch the ground. It hung there, as if tied to something invisible. A very soft crack, like a tight string being cut. A few shadows dissolved like smoke. Only their red eyes fell like upside-down fireflies, extinguished in the air. The wall cracked open like a mouth. Portraits pasted on the wall fell out, flying around in the wind that came from nowhere. Breathing, the sound of wood groaning, the sound of people screaming from the ground. The passages outside, seen through the windows, seemed to change places, retreating when someone tried to step forward, sliding like the surface of water. "Not long enough. Just hold them. A little," Maya said, her eyes not leaving the circle. Leo lifted Alex up. "Which way?" Maya closed her eyes, feeling. Everything was like a moving maze, but there was a rhythm. The rhythm of the forest. She opened her eyes, pointing towards the side door of the church. They rushed out. The circle of judgment drifted along, following Alex like a black bird. Shadows spread out from both sides of the alley. A dry hand jumped up from the ground, grabbed Alex's ankle. He almost fell. Leo bent down and hit hard. The hand shattered into cold ash. "Don't stand still," Maya reminded. The shadows rushed forward, not slow this time. The circle of judgment shook, emitting a sound like metal rubbing against stone. Maya read the awkward words again, her voice starting to break. The largest shadow, probably the shadow of the old village chief from years ago, stretched out, its eyes red like two pieces of hot iron. It touched the edge of the circle and cried out. It took a step back, just one, but enough for the three of them to break free of the encirclement, dash through the broken fence, trample on rotting leaves, and breathe in the forest air. Leo ran ahead, then Alex, Maya. Behind them, the village stretched out, trying to hold them back with the alleys sliding under their feet. The wind came. The mist in the village was whipped back like a curtain. The shadows at the edges couldn't get through, their red eyes burning, then fading like dying embers. A long, long sigh, as if the whole village were exhaling. They didn't stop until they were deep in the forest. Leo plopped down, his back against the tree trunk. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were still alert. Alex put the camera on his lap, the light still flashing. I got it, he said, unsure. Maya hugged her knees, put her chin on them, inhaled the smell of damp leaves like medicine. We're out, she whispered. Temporarily. A week later, on Halloween night, Alex sat in his rented room, the window ajar, the sound of cars in the distance like a hazy river. He turned on the camera, reviewed the footage. In the frame, the fog shimmered beautifully like an effect. The door closed by itself, the window slammed shut, the hallway seemed to stretch out. Everything was there. The circle of judgment appeared in a few frames, black like a hole in the image. There was a very light knock on the door. He looked up. No one. In the silence, a very soft sigh passed by, as if coming from the corner of the wall. Alex stood up, walked to the window, pulled the curtains. Outside on the street, people were laughing, dressing up. Cheap witch and vampire masks danced under the neon lights. When he pulled the curtains back, in the reflection on the glass, Alex saw that behind him there was not only his shadow, there was also a thin, flat, long black streak, like a scythe leaning against the corner of the room. He turned around. The corner of the room was empty. Alex thought to himself, stress. The phone vibrated. A message from Maya. Are you listening tonight? Alex was about to reply, listen to what, when he heard it. In the sound of the wind seeping through the crack of the door, an old sound crept into the room. Tired but persistent. Not harvested yet. Leo texted the group, don't be alone. Lock the door. Alex looked up at the door lock. It was still locked. Then he looked at the floor. There were a few small black dust particles, like ash, lying in a semicircle at the threshold. The circle of the orb had fallen back at the edge of the forest that night. But here, something had left the mark of another circle. Alex opened the cupboard, looked for the priest's diary. On the last page, under the red-brown ink, there was a new line. The ink still wet, the smell of burnt incense lingering. They can't harvest the body. They will wait for the soul. He took a step back. In his mind flashed that red eye. The circle of the guardians may be temporary, but the border is real. He texted back, come to my place tonight. Stay. Stay. Maya replied with a moon icon. Leo replied, I brought the rope. Alex smiled, half believing. What was the rope for? But then he remembered the moment they'd grabbed each other in the church. Perhaps that very bond was the only thing the shadow couldn't cut. Outside the window, Halloween bustled and then faded. Inside, 3 people sat side by side, candles placed around them, salt sprinkled on the threshold in a circle toward the window. "If they need a way out, give them a way out, not in," Maya whispered. Leo tied the rope around the 3 people's wrists, linking them like another circle, made of material so ordinary that even ghosts despised it. But ordinary is hard to break. Near midnight, when the new moon pierced the clouds once more, the whisper came again, clearer, as if someone was standing close to their ear. "Not harvested yet." Alex took a deep breath. "We are not your fields. You have been taken. We do not pay with us. If necessary, we will tell. We will name what happened." Maya nodded, eyes closed as if listening. Leo gently tightened the rope. The whisper receded a little, like an old man turning away, disappointed and relieved. The candlelight swayed, then stopped. At the doorway, the half-circle of black ash faded, giving way to the yellow dust particles of the street. They fell asleep as the sky neared dawn. In his dream, Alex saw that field again. The harvesters bowed their heads, the horizon blurred like a stain. But this time, when he looked up, at the edge of the field was a small black line, thin as a thread, the forest. Many years later, every Halloween season, in university clubs or video channels, the story of the Goldie Guy. It was rumored that every 100 years, the village opened its doors to harvest souls. Some people said they saw flashlights swaying in the mist. Some heard whispers like thin knives cutting through the wind. Alex, Maya, Leo did not return. They promised each other, if one day they needed to, they would go together and only together. They still heard the very light sighs in the windy night, like endless memories. But somewhere deep in the forest, the village still lay there. The houses changing places like board chess pieces. The cracked statue looked down at the dry hands crawling across the brick floor. The crescent moon occasionally turned into a scythe, licking the bright line on the warning board in front of the gate. The unharvested shadows will find the curious. And it seemed, somewhere in the shadows, a black circle still hovered, waiting for the right person to place it between the shadow and the bone. Because the border only exists when someone stands there to say, "Enough." I was 15 the summer it happened. Old enough to think I understood danger, young enough to still treat the world like a playground. My best friend Ethan lived in a quiet neighborhood tucked against a patch of forest and a stretch of abandoned railroad tracks. During the day, the place felt normal, boring even. But at night, it changed. Ethan's parents always went to bed early, and once the house settled into silence, he and I would slip out the window and roam the neighborhood. Not to cause trouble, just to feel something. When you're 15 and restless, even walking around at 2 a.m. feels like rebellion. But the night, everything changed. The world outside felt wrong before we even left the yard. The air was heavy, humid, no breeze, no insects, no distant highway noise. It felt like stepping into a photograph, frozen, soundless, watching you. We walked our usual lap around the street, but the quiet felt suffocating. After a while, Ethan said, "Let's go. Check the tracks." Behind his neighborhood, a steep embankment led up to old rusted train tracks that wound deep into the woods. Further down, in a clearing, a few homeless men sometimes camped. We knew about it because of Tommy, one of the regulars. Tommy was an old friend of Ethan's dad. A quiet guy, not dangerous, just sad. He often let us hang around in the daytime, so going toward his camp at night didn't feel insane, just stupid. We climbed the gravel slope, each step crunching loudly in the silence. When we reached the tracks, the rails stretched into darkness like two metal veins cutting through the forest. The trees loomed on either side, thick and shadowy. Smoke. Ethan pointed. See the fire? Between the trees ahead, a faint orange glow flickered. That had to be Tommy. Relieved, we lowered ourselves into the brush and crept toward the clearing the way we always did. Quiet, cautious, hidden. But as soon as we saw the camp, I felt my stomach tighten. The fire was burning. The tents were set up, but no one sat near the flames. The light from the fire flickered against the trunks, carving shadows everywhere. Then I saw movement. A shape, tall, unnaturally tall, stood just beyond the firelight, perfectly still, facing the tracks, facing us. Is that him? Ethan whispered. Tommy was maybe 5'9". This thing towered. It didn't sway. It didn't shift weight. It didn't breathe loudly, just stood. The fire behind it made it look like a cutout from reality, like its edges were wrong, slightly blurred, as if the light refused to land on it. Then its head tilted, slowly, too slowly. Like something learning how to mimic a human curiosity, but failing. Ethan's breath hitched. That's not Tommy. Everything inside me screamed run. But before we could move, the figure stepped sideways, out of the firelight, and vanished behind a tree without a sound. We froze. Nothing moved. No footsteps, no breathing, just silence. Then behind us, a footstep close. I spun around. The figure stood on the path behind us. No transition, no approach, just there, 10 feet away. I could see it more clearly now. Its limbs were too long, arms hanging almost to its knees. Its posture was stiff, shoulders sharp and angular. Its face, if it had one, was obscured by shadow, but two faint, reflective specks hovered where eyes should be. Ethan mouthed, "Go." We backed away, stepping carefully onto the tracks again. Every instinct screamed that turning our backs was a terrible idea, but staying was worse. We started walking quickly, trying not to run yet, trying not to look terrified. After about 20 steps, Ethan whispered, "Do you hear that?" I didn't, and that was the problem. I didn't hear it. No footsteps, no breathing, nothing behind us. I risked a glance. The figure was walking toward us. My voice cracked. "Run!" We sprinted. Branches whipped our arms. Gravel flew behind us. To our left, something enormous moved between the trees, matching our speed. Silent, dark, shadow gliding with impossible smoothness. "It's beside us," Ethan screamed. Up ahead, the old wooden bridge came into view, a narrow crossing over a small creek. If we made it across, we'd be near the neighborhood again. We hit the bridge hard, shoes thudding loudly on the planks. Halfway across, a massive crash sounded behind us. A tree shaking violently, something slamming into it. The shadow shape in the forest blurred forward, closer, faster than any human could sprint. We reached the end of the bridge and spun around. The figure stood at the start of the bridge, blocking the only path back. It stepped onto the wood. The planks creaked, faster each time, smooth, unnatural, like gravity didn't apply. Its head twitched, then its arms spasmed violently, as if it were deciding how to move. I felt my sanity slipping. Before it could reach us, a train horn blared in the distance. The tracks vibrated violently beneath the bridge. The creature froze. Its head snapped toward the sound like a startled animal. Then its back arched grotesquely, joints popping, limbs bending backward. In one horrific motion, it dropped to all fours, spine cracking like dry wood, and it bolted into the trees, gone so fast it left the firelight flickering in its wake. Ethan grabbed my shirt. "Go now." We didn't stop running until we reached his backyard, climbed through the window, locked it, and collapsed on the floor, shaking uncontrollably. For almost an hour, we sat in silence, adrenaline slowly draining from our bodies. A quiet knock on the window. We froze. Another tap. Then something dragged slowly across the glass. Long, deliberate. We stared at the floor. Neither of us dared look up. For a full minute, the thing traced the glass, with whatever appendage it used. Then silence. We didn't sleep. We didn't move. We waited until sunrise. Only then did we lift the blinds. The yard was empty, but below the window were footprints. Wide, deep, longer than any human foot. And they weren't walking away. They stood in one place, facing the house, facing the window, facing us. We never spoke of that night again. Tommy disappeared from the tracks weeks later. His camp was abandoned. Nothing left but ashes. And some nights, when I wake up between 2 and 3 a.m., I swear I hear that same soft tapping on my window. As if it's reminding me it never really left. As if it's waiting for me to come back to the tracks.